notice of public meeting of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville. Pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act, notice is hereby given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene a workshop, an executive session, and special meeting on Tuesday, August the 25th, 2009, at 5 p.m., 5:45 p.m., and 6 p.m. in the Commission Chambers on the second floor of the Brownsville City Hall Federal Building, located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Cameron County, Texas. Workshop item A, presentation regarding one city update.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd ask that we table this workshop to the next meeting. We weren't able to get the PowerPoint presentation in place, so I'll bring it up at the next meeting.
Great. Want to move to B?
Okay. Is there a second to table that?
Second.
We have a motion to table workshop item A, seconded by Commissioner Longoria. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Workshop item B, presentation regarding Brownsville Farmers Market.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be here and to address the Commission. My name is Belinda Reiniger. I'm a faculty member at the University of Texas School of Public Health, and I am a liaison to the Brownsville Farmers Market Board of Directors. Beginning in 2001, when the University of Texas School of Public Health came to Brownsville, one of our key interests was to address public health and in particular physical activity and healthy food choice of persons living in Brownsville. We have found through our research over the years that the levels of obesity, as all of you know, are very high and in fact higher here than in other places. The levels of diabetes are higher here, as you know, than in other places. So our concern as a school and wanting to make a difference as a partner in this community was to focus there. Over the years, then beginning in 2007, we found that the need for a farmer's market and a place where it was easy access for fresh fruits and vegetables for people living in Brownsville was more and more important, and we engaged in a long-term planning effort to actually see this farmer's market come to fruition. And as you know, in the 2008 year, we had the first season of the Brownsville Farmers Market, and thanks to the support of the city and other partners and sponsors, I'm here today to give you an update about the market, what it accomplished, and some of the publicity that in fact the market has brought to the city. So it is an important point to make that in this first year, the farmers market was selected by the state of Texas as a model program. One of just a few model programs, in fact, one of 5, and was sent a film crew here to highlight how the farmers market was developed and the impact that this market is making. And I have a short video that we feel like is an important way to give you the update on the market. One of two things that I want to mention one of two pieces that I want to mention is why the market was selected is one that we provide vouchers to community members that are less fortunate in our community to help them purchase fruits and vegetables. And in fact, we provided over $17,000 in vouchers to community members here in Brownsville so that they could purchase fruits and vegetables. Another reason that this market was selected as a model program is that we don't charge our vendors for the services, for the ability to sell fruits and vegetables to our community. We very much are in support of small businesses and want to see that continue to grow. Those reasons and some others that will be highlighted in this video are why we're very proud of the farmers market. So I'm going to stop talking for a minute, let you watch this video, and then make a few more comments.
but Texans are bringing healthy back. Across the state, communities are being reshaped to support and transform our health and well-being. Because reducing obesity starts with growing community.
Well, Clínica Familiar is a community health center located in the Rio Grande Valley of Texas. We take care of an array of health problems, but the one big one that we are handling at this time is obesity. Obesity is linked to so many other diseases. High blood pressure, stroke, diabetes, liver disease. If we don't control obesity, it's going to break the bank when it comes to healthcare costs.
In Brownsville, like many communities, there are lots of fast food options, there are grocery stores, there's convenience stores, but we didn't see a place highlighting fresh fruits and vegetables.
We know obesity is a problem in Texas, and we also know that obesity is a symptom of the policies and environments that make it difficult to make healthy choices in Texas. Studies have shown that if you change the environment and make fruits and vegetables more available, you can have an impact on obesity.
Surprisingly, we are in an agricultural area, and yet here in our own community, we didn't have a farmer's market.
There was a state grant that came out to help communities address the issue of obesity. I felt that we could take some of that money to try to develop some infrastructure to do some really good things in Brownsville. That's kind of how the birth of the farmers market idea came into being.
Me llamo Diana García Padilla. Este es el rancho de nosotros. Sembramos vegetales para comer y para vender.
Estamos plantando aquí en bloques para tener variedad de los vegetales todo el tiempo y tenemos poquito de cada cosa. So we have broccoli, onions, we have carrots, lettuce, green beans, onions, cilantro, beets, and radish. Todos los viernes empezamos como después de las 3 de la tarde a empezar a recoger todos los vegetales para lavarlos, prepararlos, para tenerlos listos para el sábado tempranito, tener ya todo listo, solo ponerlo en la troca y vamos.
The Brownsville Farmers Market, del campo a su mesa, which means from the fields to your table, is a brand new market in Brownsville selling fruits and vegetables and other local items to consumers right here.
The market was designed for the sole intent of reducing obesity rates and improving diabetes rates in our community. The market is here as a message that the environment can help you.
The market operates every Saturday. We have growers from the region coming in. They bring in the fresh produce. It could be carrots, it could be broccoli, cabbage. The grapefruit does well. We've had a good year for the grapefruit.
How much are the eggs? Mucha gente va solo por curiosidad porque mira que hay gente ahí y van y miran.
Wonderful.
Cuando empiezan a mirar que hay muchos vegetales y todo eso, hasta que empiezan a probar el sabor de los vegetales y de lo que compran. Y siguen yendo. Tenemos clientes de que desde el primer día que fuimos han estado yendo cada vez que nosotros vamos.
There's a wide range of people who come to the market from different walks of life. different economic strata, different ethnic background, and that was our goal. We provide vouchers to some of our low-income families to make it a little more affordable to buy fresh fruits and vegetables, to introduce them to the market, and get used to incorporating that into their diet.
Gracias. Low-income families who may not be able to afford some of the fruits and vegetables, the voucher program has been very instrumental.
Estos se llaman de cherry, estos se llaman alemán. Cuando empezamos el Farmers Market, la mayoría de la gente que iban nos dimos cuenta que eran abogados, jueces, maestros, doctores. Pero mientras estaban dando los vouchers, la gente se daban cuenta, compraban a bajo precio con buen sabor. Sí regresan la gente de bajo ingreso.
Yeah.
La otra ya está floreando.
Antes que cuando de venir acá, de que sí comíamos, pero no era pues bastante, consumimos de lo mínimo. Ahorita ahorita sí estamos consumiendo más por los niños, le ayudan.
We've had food demos. This is our first official food demo, which is really good. We want to help them learn about different ways to cook the food or to enjoy what they have purchased.
Suggesting that perhaps these eggplants or squash or carrots would taste better than the canned engages them to think, you know what, this is fun. They might be right about that.
I think the Brownsville Farmers Market has benefited the community in a number of ways, but one of the biggest is the presence of a healthy option that has now become a center of discussion. And we would recommend it to other communities for changing your environment to promote vegetables and fruits in a healthy lifestyle.
Communities are starting to come together and try to increase access to fruits and vegetables within their own communities because they realize there's a problem and they want to be part of the solution.
Brownsville Market ha hecho pero bastante cosas buenas. Y mucha gente deben de aprender, o maybe haya más grupos para que aprendan lo que ellos están haciendo para hacerlo en otros lugares, para gente pobre también, para que aprendan y sepan que hay muchas cosas allá afuera, mucha buena comida.
Not only was this video now distributed across the state, that was not the only public relation information that went out. In fact, 52 radio stations immediately picked up on the story when it was released about the farmers market. We've appeared in newspapers not only across the state but across the country. We have television spots that have appeared. So there's a lot of media that came about because of the market. Not only that, when we are at the market and we're welcoming people to come, we see a lot of people are regulars, right? But we also see every week new people coming, and people coming from all over the country saying, you know, I looked up on the website and found out you had a farmer's market, and I'm here because of that. So the idea that it's always the same people, we're seeing a mix of that, some new and some old. The other thing I want to mention is that because I'm involved at a university, we're very interested in looking at this from a scientific point of view. We want to know that spending this money, spending this time is making a difference. And so part of that effort is that we do surveys with the consumers who are attending the market to find out what they think. Is it meeting their expectations? Are they eating more fruits and vegetables? Things like that. So last market season, we surveyed over 100 people. We found that, extremely high ratings, 95% rate the experience at the Brownsville Farmers Market as extremely positive. 79% are telling us they're eating more fruits and vegetables. 77% are telling us they're eating a wider variety of fruits and vegetables. So from a public health standpoint, making a difference in what people are eating, we're seeing that at least people who are attending are reporting eating more fruits and vegetables, which from our perspective at the school is one of the reasons why we continue to provide financial support and in-kind support for this particular effort. I want to address a few things. This year, the board is working to negotiate a contract with the city, obviously. We are asking for the same level of support that we asked for last year, particularly the use of the park, the help in setting up the tents and such, and $10,000 to help with the management of the market. As you know, Dr. Rose Gowan was the first chair of the Brownsville Farmers Market prior to her election, and upon election she resigned from the board of directors. She also, in the process of our planning for this farmers market, it was important to become a nonprofit organization to run this market. At the time, one of the first steps, as you know, is to create the formation of the nonprofit, and as such, the first chair, the vice chair, and the treasurer are listed on that document. That document isn't updated; it's the bylaws and the information with the IRS that are updated, and so that is in process, and we were working to get our 501c3 at this point and finalize that. And I wanted to just kind of close on our really positive plans for the future. We have a lot of plans for the future, some of which we've already gotten additional grant funding to support, including having a chef's tent where we can demonstrate how to cook with the actual fruits and vegetables that are being sold at the market. We're having educational sessions so that people can see how to incorporate that and learn how to cook with that. It looks like we are going to be awarded some funding to provide food stamps so that we can accept food stamps at the market. We will continue to promote physical activity and healthy food choices through educational sessions, screenings, etc. at the market. We are looking at being able to do some online ordering so people can go online, order what they want, and then pick it up at the market. And we're looking at having community gardens as another feature to support the market. So our plans are continuing to grow, and we're as a board, as a community, we're very excited about having this market and the attention that it has already brought to us. And if I could have people in the audience who are board members, community members, growers, if you would stand just to kind of show your support. We have a number of people here for this. Thank you. And I'm happy to answer questions.
Talking in Spanish, she works with me at customs
very
and immigration.
Good. Right, yes.
She's an immigration agent.
She's an amazing saleswoman too. She's
a very effective woman.
Yes.
Let me ask you some questions
Please.
About this license for the use of Linear Park. It says here that to assist and defray the cost of managing the farmers market, city will pay the Brownsville Farmers Market $10,000. What's that for? I mean, I'm reading it, but
what's it
can you
used
explain more
for?
about what that's about?
Of course. We have one employee who is our market manager, and so essentially those costs are to help to pay for that one employee's salary.
So the money y'all generate from this farmers market, where does it go?
Great question. So each one of the vendors is a grower or a farmer, sorry about the feedback, and they make direct sales to customers. So the transaction of funds is between the consumer and the vendor.
So does the city rent out these spaces?
No, we do not rent out the city nor the board rents out the space. So we're trying to support our local small businesses, our local vendors in being able to take a product directly to consumers, particularly because that direct connection helps people make the choice of eating fruits and vegetables.
Okay, and it also says here that the city will provide 7 tents and will assist in setting up and taking down the tents and tables. You know that's a cost to the city, right?
Absolutely, I do.
Now, how do we get that money back?
Well, part of my personal opinion is that part of this is kind of twofold. One is when we're attracting visitors to the city who are seeing a farmer's market and they're coming to the city, they're spending their tax dollars, they're obviously, spending other dollars besides what's at the market. The other is, I think it's a statement of the city's support for the importance of health and where we place that priority. The costs associated with not doing these kinds of things, the financial burden of not addressing obesity far outweigh the costs of tents and the personnel over time if we look at it that way. So we feel like at the school we have in-kind costs too. We provide free space, faxes, phones, computers for this market. Year after year we'll continue to do that, again, because we know that the long-term cost of not addressing it now will hurt us in the end.
Yeah, I hear you. Great. Anybody else have questions?
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may. I first want to say thank you for making the presentation. I want to thank Dr. Gowan for, and all the other individuals that were involved in creating Farmers Market, Brownsville Farmers Market. As noted in the video, I think it's pretty clear the importance of this type of event in Brownsville for many different reasons. We can always try to look at from a cost perspective of, well, it's costing the city, X and Y and so forth, but it's what you just mentioned, the cost of the health for our youth and the families and the culture that sometimes needs to be changed, especially in this population. You can't go wrong with the Brownsville Farmers Market. I think when we did this a year ago and when we provided the contingency funds based on what it would do, it's the right thing. And I fully support that because, again, we need to change the mindset of our youth and our families, and it's doing just that. The city is doing its part, and you all and the vendors and the volunteers, they're doing theirs. And to do this every single weekend, 6-7 months out of the year, that's quite a bit. And so I want to thank all those involved and all those that stood up to participate, because it takes a lot of passion, and that's what this community needs. It needs people like you that are willing to go out every weekend and make a difference for the kids. And we know that they need it. Many of ourselves, our families, we know that either they have diabetes or we're overweight, and again, we need to change those habits. And the farmers market, I think, is leading us to do just that. And so I fully support it. And I think each and every year we'll come back and we'll know that it's doing different things. Last point I think most significant is, we always try to help the people that we know need it the most, and providing the vouchers to those who would not be able to purchase those items at the supermarket. To me, that's the most important thing. That's key. That's why we're here. And just by setting up a tent and having staff do what they do, I think it says a lot, and we do it for them. And I think we need to continue to do so, and hopefully we can grow and expand in many different ways. A few months ago in March, actually, I think when we were in Washington, we met with USDA and to try to look at grant opportunities for farmers market. There wasn't funds available to build a facility to maybe take it away from Linear Park, but there was monies to market farmers, and hopefully year after year the federal government may make some funds available for this organization to go out and seek. So I appreciate everything you all are doing. Again, Dr. Allen, I think you've taken the lead on this, and we're here to help and support it.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Reiniger. This isn't about me. I'm an individual that grew up in Brownsville that did a good thing and helped a lot of good people push something forward that was good for our community, that feeds, I hope you heard, over $17,000 of free food in a season to people who can't afford to shop for groceries. Those vouchers go to folks that live at the Good Neighbor Settlement Home, and the Buena Vida area, as well as Cameron Park. That is money that those people would not otherwise have for food that is quality food. The other point that I would make, and Chris can certainly confirm this, is the tents and the tables that are used are not just for the market's use, but they're used throughout the year for other park functions. Am I right, Chris? And
Yep, but
the
we
park,
Go ahead.
would you say, Chris, as the director of parks, that the park is being used more frequently by the citizens of Brownsville on Saturday mornings?
The only question I have, like going back, is this $10,000 every year for as long as it's in existence?
We are not we. They are constantly, and me before a few months ago, are constantly looking for other grant sources. That doesn't mean it'll be forever, but until those grant sources are identified, the market can't exist without it.
Because I know with Chris Patterson, he's our director of the Parks and Rec, he's been tasked to try to change the way we do business with our parks. You know, for a long time, it's always been handouts, 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 handouts. And now we're charging fees for people to use our parks.
Do you charge fees to people who give away free food to the poor?
Do I what?
Do you charge fees
Do
to
I?
organizations?
Does the city do it, or do
Yeah.
I?
Does the city charge fees to organizations that give food to the poor?
I wouldn't know, do we?
Mr. Kapler?
What's the question?
Does the city charge fees to organizations that give free food to the poor?
Well, if they're going to have if they're going to do some kind of operation in our parks to give away food, do we charge? It's going to be on a case-by-case scenario, but I would say that if we have an opportunity to help the community with free food and things like that, for whatever reason, we'd consider not charging, yes.
Well, I totally agree. I support this 100%, but I got to ask these questions because these are, you know, we're going to try to approve this license later, and it's just vague. You know, how long do we have to be paying this $10,000? How long, you know, the park fees? Are we waiving park fees for this nonprofit organization?
It's important to understand that we started this last year last year was the first year we worked with the farmers market. Yeah, and basically, it's correct to say that but last year we were running operations and we were making discretionary decisions as to whether we charge fees or not. Now, what's important about what the farmers market is, it's a service that's provided to our community where the vendors and all that are not necessarily profiting from what they're doing. For example, if we have tournaments at the sports park where people want to use our parks to participate in advance, well, they're going to charge entry fee, et cetera, to other participants. And that's where some of the difference comes into play. They're going to make a profit. So, yes, utilizing our parks, we should also be seeing what their profit margin is, et cetera, and charging fees. Mm-hmm. In this case, they're setting up and providing a service to the community where people can go and shop and enhance their knowledge in relation to products that they can consume, share with their families and things like that. So we offered, we were sold on this idea to allow participation at the linear park, where we, at that time, really wanted something to be occurring during the weekend especially. And we welcomed the farmers market with open hands at that time.
I want to thank you and Chris for your participation last year with the farmers market. I know that Chris and his staff did a lot as far as setting up and doing a lot of good work for just basically establishing the facilities for the vendors. And thank you all as well for the good work that you do with the farmers market. I guess one of the questions I have is the $10,000 that we're looking at providing them along with the license for the use of the park. Is that in kind, or is that an actual distribution of $10,000 plus the in-kind services that Chris and the other staff members are going to have as well each Saturday?
Well, last year it was in kind plus the $10,000. If that's what you're asking. A lot of the participation in the workload was being done by municipal court offering us people that wanted to pay off some
community
of their
service hours,
community
probationers,
service hours
that
and
type
things
of
like
thing.
that. So we gave participation to a lot of youth and things like that to participate in helping out.
Is that going to be available again this year?
Yes, we felt that it was very positive for especially a lot of the youth that they wanted to do community service in relation to involving themselves in such a positive program. We allowed them to participate in not only in the physical work, but to stay around and see how people share in ideas in relation to wellness programs and things like that.
Now, let me ask you something. These $10,000 are going to an employee? Who's that employee? And are we following the guidelines from our city to pay for an employee that hasn't been through our screening process? Or, I mean, what are we doing with this? This is all I wanna know.
The donation based on the commission.
The donation to hire an employee.
Well, we don't
Is that
hire.
employee going to be a city employee, or is it
No.
going to be?
No, we don't hire any employees.
I don't think that's necessarily set out. I think it's a donation to the farmer's market,
Right.
and then they're going to allocate the funds as they see fit.
Our understanding was that they had a $10,000 shortfall in relation to having an employee there that understood the product, the understanding of the farmer's market, and to share with all the vendors the idea of what the farmer's market is truly all about. So that the commission approved the $10,000 to the farmer's market, not to a certain employee.
Now, is there a waiver of liability on behalf of the farmer's market as far as what goes on in the premises at the time that they're participating or having this type of activity?
The market pays for that insurance for the city.
Right. Yeah, they provided all that information to us.
Where do they get that money to pay for that insurance?
Well, you'll have to.
Y'all fundraise besides?
We do. Right, we do look for other sponsors. We have many sponsors in other grants as well. So through those funds that we're able to get, we were able to cover the cost of this insurance that you're discussing.
Does anybody have any more questions?
I had a comment, if I can make one, please. Real quick, this year it's evolved into a new type of approach with the mini cultural district coming into play. We still have equipment from last year. It helps with all the community service out there. I'm not too big of a vegetable eater. I am now. I eat other things. But there were some things out there you all saw that I've learned what they were, I guess. But we're going to keep moving this with direction from city management and commissioners. We're getting a lot of feedback from it. People keep asking, when are we going to have it again? And I'm sure we can work out all the legalities, all the paperwork, and all the issues.
Well, I like the community service aspect of it, and I like having the young offenders and just different people having exposure to these types of activities and events. And I guess the question I have is just simply, does staff recommend it based on the budgetary constraints that we have? It's not a large amount of money, and obviously the in-kind services, we can set that aside with community service and these types of other types of participation. So for Charlie,
I'd like to add to his question, how many staff members are we talking about? And if you could assess a value to that, what is that during that duration of time?
This last year we had 2 employees, basic maintenance, one maintenance supervisor at the beginning to oversee the operations. It was from 5 in the morning till about 2. One of the biggest reasons for that, and I should say they're about $8 to $9 an hour plus fringes. Our biggest thing and our biggest concern there is protect our inventory, our assets, make sure there is a city person on site. And it's not only to that day, we're also a liaison for the city, for the health department. I wanted to add this, that we're very leery about who we accept in parks to give away food and things because there's a health department aspect, and that's one area that I do commend the farmer's market on because it was one of the first issues addressed. Lastly, I hope I answered your question.
Yes.
I was kind of a doubter at first because it was a weekly deal. I'm not a doubter anymore, but we are cutting back the amount of linear park events that we spend a lot of money on other events, and I think it's a good idea to incorporate what we were doing to save money.
What about storage for the farmer's market? Is there a place to store the equipment that's going to be used? Is that facility available, or has that been addressed so that the tents, et cetera, that you're going to?
Yes, we originally we would put them at the Old Boys and Girls Club, which is our Parks and Recreation administrative offices. We've cleared out an area since I've come into play here, We took a whole area that wasn't used before, we cleaned it out. It is clean now, and we're expecting the kitchen equipment to be placed there. So it's right next to the park. It saves on transportation and all the other stuff.
So it'll cut down on cost by having it located there.
We're trying to cut everywhere we can. And
Sounds
there's
good.
there's no doubt that it's an expense to us, but it's right across the street from where we're at, and we feel.
You know, Chris, one
Thank you.
area to, I'm sorry, one area to consider saving is, you know, we talk about that we need to have an individual there, you know, another additional day on a weekend, you know, from 6 in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And, you know, I suggested this to Skip a year ago, was to consider maybe an individual who's been out there every weekend, you know, maybe he works half day on Friday, and the remainder of the hours get added on Saturday. So we're not increasing hours for anyone or overtime yet. We're kind of taking one person from here, cutting their day in half, and applying the rest of the hours for the Saturday. And that would offset quite a bit of the cost. And that's just something to consider if it is feasible.
No, I appreciate that, and that's one of the issues we're looking at as well, to see where we can cut back on our services. But to provide the same amount of services, but do it in a different way, be more creative.
Any questions?
Thanks, Chris.
Yes, does the city provide comparable gratuitous or in-kind service to other entities?
I could go. When we have an event come into a park, a nonprofit per se, there's different things that are worked with. You know, what we do with the farmers market may be a linear park. When we have the Down Syndrome Awareness Day that comes to Dean Porter, we like to do that too. Kickball, all of that stuff, all of the youth leagues. What I am working with the city manager on right now is just trying to figure out and addressing the new way we approach events in our city. Because there are plenty of nonprofits that are just always wanting to use a park, and it's just a lot of money in city services. This is very organized. There's a contract. There's a plan. There's a business plan. And I think that's the approach that I need to take. Our department needs to do a little bit more research into that. So there are plenty of other events. I could get you a list for that.
Okay, and within the presentation, it was mentioned that 52 radio stations and several, I guess, print media, you had lots of exposure with this, which is positive exposure, good PR for the city, and we know right now we're struggling to have that for us. So I do see that there is a positive impact with this project, and you can't buy that type of PR with $10,000 if you were to buy a print ad or radio spots. So I want to commend the farmers market for that. But I'd also like to see maybe in the future if we work on maybe grants or partnership with the university to complement our part of this. In actuality, I do see this as some sort of sponsorship because of the media coverage we gain from it. But I would like to see partnerships with other entities in the future, if that's okay. Or I'm sure you're probably working on that already, but I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
And I would like to ask, is UTB sponsoring anything for the farmers market?
The University of Texas Brownsville is through, in partnership with the UT School of Public Health. We are very much in partnership on all sorts of
financially,
activities. Financially, not at this point. We have talked with them and will continue to talk with them.
Okay, who are you talking with there?
Dr. Garcia.
Dr. Garcia? Let me ask you something, Charlie. This $10,000, is it going to come through the hot tax, hotel motel tax, or is it going to come through our general fund? Because I know we're figuring out this budget for allocating funds to the arts and to museums and other entities. Would that money be coming from there? Because we could adjust some stuff from there.
I don't know if it qualifies. And you understand that last year we started this midstream, and we had no option but to get funding from general fund to sponsor this.
So it's general fund money?
But we can always look at other venues, but I don't believe that we can justify in using hot money for this.
No, it doesn't fall under
But
historical
we can submit to 4B, or we can do other types of ways of funding this.
Okay.
But it's very important to understand that employees being at places where we're having events at our parks is not unusual. We have events throughout the whole city, and understand the linear park is within the Midi-Cultural District, and we have the major Boys and Girls Club, ex-Boys, our administrative offices are right across the street. We have Dean Porter Park there. and other locations that our people have to be continuously checking on, whether it's a weekday or weekend. It's not that we are there with them throughout the day. We do obviously want to make sure that everything is going well, and our people go by there and see what's happening. And as a lot of employees that are not even working go, and they go to either participate or buy things. But our employees are having to check our parks at all times. We were encouraging activity in that segment of the linear park during that time. It was very inactive. It's a beautiful part of the city, a beautiful park, and this was a great opportunity to get something very positive at that location.
Thank you, Charlie.
Everybody else have
Doc,
questions?
you want to say something? Go.
Yes. I'm Dr. McCormick, the Dean of the Regional Academic Health Center School of Public Health here. I wanted to put this into a little bit of perspective. I appreciate very much the questions that are being asked about the funding and certainly making sure that the resources of the city are used as all of us would like to see. The cost of obesity and diabetes in the lower Rio Grande Valley, we have now calculated to be about $1.2 billion a year. If you put that into, that does not include the $250 million a year that's lost due to lost revenue from people who can't work because of diabetes. That's a separate calculation. And if you put that then into perspective of the income, the average income for the lower Rio Grande Valley, which is about 50% of the income of the United States. In the U.S., we spend about 3% of our annual personal income, annual income, on obesity and diabetes. Because of the very high rates of obesity and diabetes we have in the lower Rio Grande Valley and the low levels of income, it costs over 12% of our income to take care of obesity and diabetes. So the investment that the city of Brownsville is making for obesity and diabetes seems to me to be a very small one, but an important one. And if you're looking for a return on that investment, if you can imagine that we could reduce obesity and the cost of it even by 5%, that would be a huge return on any investment here in the lower Rio Grande Valley, and particularly in Cameron County. So I think we need to keep that in perspective. This is all from all of our perspectives. And we at the school also provide in-kind, we provide space, all at no cost. We also provide funds for this program. So
have you gone to the Board of Trustees at UTB and give them this speech? Because it's a great speech, and I totally believe in what you're saying. I'm sure they're passionate too about the problems we have with obesity and diabetes. I think they would offer financial help too. I mean, have you all gone as teachers and professors and to that board and asked for some type of financial help?
The Regional Academic Health Center is not part of UTB. We are part of the University of Texas Health Science Center in Houston. So I would be happy to go to the board of UTB if Dr. Garcia invited me to come and make any presentation, or to any other group, because I think this kind of puts it in perspective in terms of the investment, the really relatively small investment that we're asking the city of Brownsville to make for this. And there are other groups that are also making this investment, including ourselves. So I just wanted to put that in the perspective of what we're trying to achieve here. And I think all of us trying to work together, we all know that these are difficult financial times, and I think it's appropriate that people ask the right questions, but I also think it's appropriate to put this into perspective in terms of the huge problem.
And you got to understand where we're coming from. As commissioners of this city, we got to protect our budgets, our taxpaying dollars.
But you also have to invest in what you know is going to be important for the city. That's part of your job. So I
Great,
think
man.
that's.
There's a lot of people that come up and ask us to fund stuff like this. I've supported, but I gotta ask these questions because I wanna know if the farmer's market is trying to get financial funding. It seems to me, and not just put it on the farmer's market, a lot of different entities come and try to get funding from the city without trying to make it more of a, you know, how do I want to say it, more cooperation from both. You know, I mean, it's just, let's see if we can get this from the city, and then they sit back. I mean, I'm more about let's
Well,
collaborate
this is an
and
investment
do
in
something
your
together.
community.
But it's an investment for the UTB also. It's an investment for the city as well. I mean, but I'm here to safeguard taxpayer dollars any way I can. You know what I mean?
Well,
but I
the
think
one way we
the
can
burden
do
should
that,
be on all of us,
yeah,
not just
one
the
way
city.
we can do that is to reduce the cost of healthcare in the valley and the cost of diabetes and obesity, and that's what this is aimed at. So I just wanted to give that perspective.
Question, please. No, have there been any efforts to reach out and partner with the flea market off the expressway? It's an all-encompassing, several hundred, I'm sure, growers there, and thousands and thousands of people who attend that.
That's a very good question. At this point, our focus, because of the board's desires and the approach that we're taking, our focus has been on having growers at the market who were the actual growers, not somebody who went and picked up a load of watermelon from an outlet and then brought it to sell. So our vendors at the Brownsville Farmers Market are the actual growers. And that allows us to have different certifications. And so we've stayed focused on that. In general, in philosophy, we're glad that there are people selling fruits and vegetables anywhere. It's just been our choice to focus there.
I just believe that if your focus and aim is to educate the public on obesity and diabetes, that you'd have a much bigger market over at the flea market off the expressway.
I would not agree. I would not argue with you. I think there is a large population where we, particularly as a school of public health, can take it into advisement that that's a place to reach more people with this message, no doubt.
The difference, I'm sorry to interrupt, is that to be a certified farmer's market in Texas, you have to sell directly from the farmer to the consumer. So it doesn't work that way at the flea market. The flea market is second selling. You know, those folks are buying from packing sheds and selling to the consumer. And so we can't include them in the market because then it wouldn't qualify as a certified farmer's market. And if it doesn't qualify as a certified farmer's market, then we can't accept a lot of the state, food stamps and such, and the grant money that we are able to use and share with Su Clinica.
But that doesn't prevent you or the organization from contacting the owners of the flea market to distribute educational material.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I don't think they would have a problem with your farmers selling right there. I mean, all they're going to do is they might even provide the space for free. I mean, well,
they don't
talk too much about this.
They don't. It's a rented space.
I think that one of the things that you're doing is you're providing access or you're providing traffic downtown and to the park. You've got the zoo. You've got overflow to the Museum of Fine Arts, and you're creating basically a bubble of people who would not have otherwise gone downtown and done anything on a Saturday morning at the linear park. And it's wonderful, and I assume you're going to target the flea market and the population over there because that's a larger percentage of our population. It's obviously a population that's at risk given all of the information that you provided. But what you're talking about today is bringing people and basically the market, commerce, time, effort, money into the downtown area. And
one more location to, we really can't have enough where you can buy fresh fruits and vegetables and be out active on a Saturday morning. That's what we want to see Brownsville become and represent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
No, it's
a
just a
workshop.
downtown, 6th Street, 7th Street, in between.
Right in front of the federal courthouse.
All right, we want to move on?
Executive session, item A, discussion with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Texas Government Code, section 551.071.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we go to an executive session.
We got a motion by Commissioner Camarillo, second by Commissioner Longoria, go to executive. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll be back. Your personal leader or your email for the city?
Please rise. Face the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee. Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Pastor Burke, Brad Burke.
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you and praise you for this great nation we live in. We thank you and praise you for this city. And Lord, I thank you and praise you for the leaders that you've put before us. We ask you to give them divine revelation tonight, give them clear direction as they wrestle with this budget and other issues. Lord, we ask you to help each of us to treat each other with respect even when we disagree. Help the citizens to understand that it's a difficult subject that they're dealing with tonight. And again, help each of us to respect each other. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Welcome to the city chambers. We'll start with, there's no action on any of the executive session items, so we'll go with the commissioner's report. Commissioner Atkinson.
Well, I'm trying to get back to it. Well, on my computer's trying to boot up, but as far as the sports park, there was an event there this last weekend, a boxing event, brought in close to 3,000 people. It was a what the city would consider a success. There was a lot of people out there, a lot of movement. The concession stands made, I think, close to $3,000, $4,000, I'm sorry. So, there is money being made out there in the sports park through our concession stands. And, the BCIC board that I'm on is real proactive in making sure the funds that we generate through sales tax. Most people say my taxes are paying for the sports park. It's a sales tax. It's not your taxes. Your taxes aren't paying for the sports park. I want to make that clear because there's a lot of people that go in and say, hey, my taxes are paying for this. I'm like, it's a sales tax. It's when you go spend money buying a washer and dryer, or you spend money going out to eat, that sales tax goes back to BCIC. It's a 4B board, just like it goes back to the 4A. It's sales tax. I think we get, a 1/4 cent sales tax from the community to fund BCIC, which funds the sports park. So, I know there's some people out there that we spend a lot of my taxes on the sports park. Well, it's not your direct taxes. It's sales tax. It's when you go spend money, the taxes that they charge you to buy milk from whatever, that's paying for the sports park and for other things that we do on BCIC. So I want to make that a point for people to know.
I'm sure the commissioner doesn't want to leave a wrong impression. The maintenance and the personnel and the lighting, all that stuff is paid by the general fund, the property taxes, but the sports park itself is from the sales tax.
Okay, but the
we just don't want to leave the wrong impression.
Okay, but I don't want to give you another wrong impression because the maintenance out there is paid through BCIC. So the city's not incurring costs for employees out there because the employees out there are funded through sales tax, not the general fund there.
Okay. Commissioner Camarillo?
I'll be real quick. A couple of weeks ago, I attended a Keep Texas Beautiful Board of Directors meeting, and as we look at some of the goals that are coming up for this upcoming year, one of the highlights of the retreat/meeting was every year TxDOT awards Keep Texas Beautiful $1 million for grant projects to distribute amongst Keep Texas Beautiful affiliates. This year, they're going to increase that from $1 million to $2 million. And so the city of Brownsville, as well as other communities across the state, are eligible for these Governor Achievement Award grant monies to go to making improvements, beautification projects within their community. So I want to thank TxDOT for helping in that sense, the entire state. This past weekend, Healthy Communities did a cigarette cleanup. They were around Market Square, and they did some trash picking up around the downtown area and off of Kinko's. And, you know, they wrote a grant and were given some funds to go out and do this work. But also at the same time, how to eradicate, you know, people littering their cigarette butts all around town. And so a group of individuals, volunteers, have done quite a bit of work over the summer, actually. Within a month's time, they collected nearly over 3,000 cigarette butts. They had 68 volunteer hours and 15 bags of trash over the weekend. It goes to show that there's a lot of people smoking in the community, and they're just throwing their cigarette butts, you know, on the side of the buildings or wherever they're at. Hopefully we want to curb that activity, but I want to thank all the volunteers and Healthy Communities for doing such a great job over the weekend and writing the grant and doing some good work for the city of Brownsville and for the community. So I want to thank them. We also did a graffiti cleanup on Saturday. We, you know, when people say it's all about numbers, well, not in this sense. It was about 2 of us that did a cleanup on Saturday. We covered about 16 sites around town, and it varied in different districts. So there's a lot more out there, and hopefully we'll get to those soon. But proud of my nephew Richie came out with me, and we covered up some graffiti. And right before the school started, I wanted to make sure he did some work. So it was a good time, and we had a chance to get rid of something that was just negative in our community. Last thing, I wanted to thank the Priscilla Rodriguez and the Brownsville Historical Association regarding some murals that have been put up around town. In case you haven't noticed, if you drive around downtown, you'll notice there's some pictorial murals that have just popped up on sides of some of the buildings around downtown. That does 2 things. It's important for 2 reasons. One, I think it's helping in tourism. People are coming down to Brownsville and they're seeing on the side of this building a part of our history. The second is education, and the story that, you know, we try to tell to many people that visit Brownsville, you know, probably the most historic city south of San Antonio. The murals do just that, and so I want to thank them and the group for doing this, and hopefully there's more to come. That concludes my report.
Okay. Consent agenda items?
Consent agenda items A through D.
I vote to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Longoria, second by Commissioner Camarillo. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3.
Item number 3, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 2009-1510, approving a negotiated resolution between the City of Brownsville and Texas Gas Service Company regarding the company's March 27, 2009 application to implement higher rates in its Rio Grande Valley service territory, adopting tariffs that reflect rate adjustments consistent with a negotiated settlement, and finding the rates to be set by the attached tariffs to be just and reasonable, approving a 3-year experimental cost of service adjustment process that includes TGS's proposed depreciation rates, a return on equity of 10.25%, and use of a federal tax rate of 35%, providing for the recovery of the city's and TGS's reasonable and necessary rate case expenses, and declaring an effective date.
Good evening, Commissioners. What you have been presented with is a negotiated settlement to a rate case for natural gas. All of the Valley cities got together a coalition to negotiate with Texas Gas Service, and the report I've gotten is that the negotiated rate is roughly 40% of what
Texas Gas Service had asked the Railroad Commission to approve. In addition, they're trying, instead of doing incremental rate filings every year, which are just difficult to keep up with, they're adding in a feature so that there's a procedure so that the gas company can increase its rates every year if it's cost justified to no more than 5% a year. And you're asked to approve the settlement. I got word the city of McAllen approved the settlement last night. And if you have any questions, I'll do the best I can to answer them. We have folks here that probably, if you had a question that I can't answer, we have folks present that probably can.
Okay, Ken Jones, you here? I saw you here a minute ago. Okay, you want to come up here? He's with the Lower Rio Grande Development Council. Who is the city's representative on that board?
I sit on that board, Mayor.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Evening.
You want to add anything, Mr.?
No, I just want to personally thank the city commission and the staff for working with the other cities through this negotiation process. It's been successful over past rate increases, and I think the success is related to all the cities within the valley working together as a unit, negotiating rate settlements with Texas Gas Service as those had occurred in the past. So the Development Council has recommended to all the cities to consider this ordinance in a favorable way, and the majority of the communities, to my knowledge, have already approved the ordinance, and no one has opposed it to this point in time, to my knowledge. Thank you, Ken. This is a public hearing. Anybody want to speak on this? Mr. Reese? Please come to the podium and identify yourself.
Mayors, Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Fernando Ruiz. Mayor, about 3 months ago, I saw the ad in the paper concerning the gas company that they were going to look into the matter of increasing the rates in the lower Rio Grande Valley. That's all the way from La Jolla to Brownsville, Texas. We're talking about 20 or something municipalities. And you know what? If we all could have pulled together, we could have gotten a better and negotiated a better deal with them. Right now, the price of gas is the lowest it has been and will continue to go lower. The price of the barrel of oil right now is $75 as of today. But gas is not showing any hopes of increasing in price, and it's going to lower because of there's no demand. So I recommend, sir, with all due respect to all of you, if we could get all the cities and negotiate something with a gas company, I have no problem, because, divide and conquer. They have taken one at a time. And, I never addressed this in the meeting because for some reason or other, I forgot. But I had it there pinned to by my wall, where I could see it every day. And then it just erased, because I didn't pay attention to it, and the time had expired. But we had time to get all the communities, sir, because we can negotiate. I have no problem negotiating the deal with all the cities involved. This is what I would recommend.
Thank you, sir. But let them speak, and then you can address them all.
All I was going to say is that's exactly what we did.
I know. But let them all speak, and then you can address it all.
Roberto Ureste, concerned citizen. My questions are real simple. How much is PUB going to raise their rates, because they do use a lot of gas to make electricity? Another thing I have to ask a question is that what is the franchise? Will the franchise fees go up for the city? Because we do pay a franchise fee for anybody who has natural gas in their home. I don't. I just have all electric. So I'm just looking at what the cost of the electricity is going to be for the city of Brownsville. And are we going to use some of that franchise fee to compensate the people who can't afford the higher cost? That's all I ask you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, John, you want to address that, or Ken? But Ken represents the Lower Rio Grande Development Council. That's all the communities that Mr. Reese was talking about. So I guess he can best address it. What you did is a unit to negotiate this, maybe you want to respond.
All of the communities in the valley did participate in the process, and that was one of the objectives is to review very closely, as well as hiring a rate consultant and looking at the fees increase that was proposed. And as the Assistant City Attorney mentioned earlier, that of the proposed increase, the settlement was 60% less than the initial recommended or proposed increase by the Railroad Commission from Texas Gas Service. So from all the community's perspective, as due diligence was done in terms of trying to protect the interests of the residents and the consumers from all the communities within the region for this utility service, and so we hope it is considered favorably for y'all today. In terms of the information on franchise tax and so forth, I wouldn't have that accessible to me. My apology on that.
And the cost of gas or fuel for PUB is nothing that we increase, it's just a pass-through to the consumer. That has nothing to do with you, Ken, it has to do with us here. You want to add something to that, John?
No, I have nothing further to add to him here.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Commissioner Triani is recognized.
Actually, is it Ken?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain, there is a portion here that says that if we don't take action, that Texas Gas Service can ask for the full amount of their rate request by operation of law. Are you aware of that?
I believe that's correct, but I would defer to legal counsel on specifics on it.
Okay. So, I mean, basically from the background that I've received here, it indicates that we need to make a decision on this by August 31st, 2009, and you're saying that you've negotiated a reduction in the amount that they're requesting by 60%.
Correct.
And so if we don't take any action based on the information provided by counsel here, it's saying that on August 31st, or actually on September 1st, they can ask that by operation of law or automatically that the entire amount be imposed. Now, do you know if that is by a city or at a regional level?
That would be at the city level. And the deadline has been extended because we're not going to, this has got to go through 2 readings. And so the deadline has been moved to September the 2nd, so that you all can do a second reading on the ordinance.
Okay, so you've already got an extension on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Really about, I think, twice through the negotiation process.
And as part of the due diligence, you said that you went through a rate consultant who has looked at the pricing, and that was the number that the rate consultant recommended, the 60% reduction, or this was?
In consultation with the city representatives that were part of the coalition group, of which Brownsville participated. That is correct. And I'm happy to say that the cost for the rate consultant under these types of cases is borne by the utility company. So there's no expense for that would be come back to the city of Brownsville or the other communities as part of this process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the commission? Please identify yourself, Mr. Roberto.
My name is Dagoberto Barrera. What I want to ask you, are they losing money or they just want more profit? Are they losing money or they just want more profit? Since we only have one gas company. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or, okay. Okay, so this is a public hearing. Can I have a motion to close?
Just one other question. Do you all know what the difference per ratepayer or what the difference would have been if the utility company or Texas Gas Service would have gotten what they asked for?
No, I may defer that to Dean Lefevre with Texas Gas Service to probably mention actual dollar amount comparison on that. In terms of, if you're looking at monthly rates, perhaps.
Good evening. I'm Dean Lefevre, and I'm the Director of Operations for Rio Grande Valley Texas Gas Service. The settlement resulted in a 91-cent per month increase to the residential customers, plus a volumetric charge. So the effective rate is $1.91 per month for each residential customer. What we asked for originally was along the lines of $3.80 per month. So it turned out to be a little bit less than half for the residential customers. And overall, the effective rate for all the different rate classes was 40% of what we asked.
You want to bring it down to 35%?
It'd be difficult to do that at this point.
It wouldn't hurt.
I understand.
Thanks.
Okay, we're not negotiating with you
I
here.
have a question
Okay.
for the gentleman.
Commissioner Zamora?
To answer Mr. Barrera's question, has there been a decline in revenue that we need this increase with your company?
Actually, most of it's attributed to increase in investment and governmental oversight. We have a lot more regulations that we have to deal with than what we've historically had to do. So the answer I would say is that utilities are meant to be profitable, but not overly profitable. And so their PUB, I would suggest, goes to the same thing. Electric companies as well. And so there are times where we have to negotiate increased rates in order to have a rate of return.
Okay. Well, Ken, you've done your due diligence. All the communities approved this that sit on the council. I want to thank you for the work you've done. I want to thank you for coming down here, taking the time. And also you, sir, Representative Texas Gas, and John for putting this together for us here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
To close.
We have a motion by Commissioner Longoria. Can I have a second? Second by Commissioner Troyani. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This is an action item. Can I have a motion to approve the negotiated resolution? Can I have a motion?
I'll motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Atkinson. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Commissioner Longoria. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carries. Thank you. Thank you very much. Item 4.
Item 4, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 2009-1202-F to amend section 42-101, rates for city emergency medical services.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor. My name is David Rojas. I'm the Deputy Chief for the Brownsville Fire Department. I'm here on behalf of Fire Chief Perez, who is out in a convention in Dallas, and unable to be here to present this item. If I may, we'll try to explain the best way we can to address this item. At the present time, to my right, we have Esther Garza. She is the EMS supervisor, and she does have a package for y'all, so you can follow through. Okay. The ambulance fee schedule has come to an end, and we are currently comparing other services to the rates that we have. Our records and research, we found out. Go ahead and give them a package. In our research, we found out that that not only are we the lowest BLS service provider, but
Thank you.
the list that she is passing out right now actually provides a cost for the BLS that each city in the valley provides.
So we're under Medicaid allotment,
Yes,
allowance?
Medicare, Medicaid.
And we're also under all the other cities as far as what we're billing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think this is self-explanatory. This is a public hearing, and what the resolution is or the ordinance is to raise rates to bring us up to par with the other communities and Medicaid. Basically, that's it. Any discussion? This is a public hearing.
So we're still going to be,
Longoria?
I'm sorry to make
Commissioner Longoria's been
so we're still
recognized?
going to have the lowest then? We're going from 250 to 350.
Yes, we'll be the lowest, but comparable to the rest of the valley.
Okay.
The reason that we want to increase, or we find the need to increase it, is because the reimbursement that Medicare provides us. At the present time, with the 250, we get 215 reimbursement, and by increasing it to 350, we actually earn the allowance that they provide, Medicare provides, which will be an increase of $321 from reimbursement. So by increasing it, at $100, we actually increase the reimbursement that Medicare allows a community, a geographic community of ours.
Thank you.
Commissioner Longoria.
Assistant Chief Hinojosa, just a request for you to take back to Chief Perez. Maybe you could bring us an update later on as to, it's been over a year, as to what has been done through the fire department doing the transfers for our citizens. What is the update? What are the numbers that have been provided? What has come in, obviously, through the year? So what are we looking at? Has it been beneficial to the city? Has the city been able, by the use of staff and doing these transfers, has the city been able to benefit? And obviously, that's a very big part of the Medicare, the Medicaid return is through the transfers. So where are we at this point before we end the year? Where are we on transfers?
That's an excellent question. I will take it back to the fire chief. Although what we're talking about right now, there are emergency BLS transfers. The non-emergency transfers are at a different base rate.
Correct.
And doing or providing an emergency BLS rate, it's a different standard, different medications we need to provide, and different care for the patient in itself.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes,
Just
sir.
a quick note, Assistant Chief.
This
what
is a public hearing?
What is the non-emergency rate?
The non-emergency rate is $250 as well.
$250.
Yes. And since they're the same, again, by us increasing it to $350 for the emergency BLS rate, we're within the limits that Medicare actually can help us out with their reimbursement of $321.
Right, but for the non-emergency, that's still going to stay $250.
Yes, sir. And we get a reimbursement of $250.
Okay,
$212, I believe, for that.
But everyone else on the list, their non-emergency is over $500.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
Yes. And it's something we can visit.
Okay, I think we.
I see what you're saying, and it, you know, again, our intent is to stay within reason and
Right.
within the cost.
Well, my logic is just from a budget perspective to create a separate unit that just does non-emergency transport and let that pay for itself, rather than taking a regular unit that should be on the street addressing the calls with the unions, and obviously all of that is a much higher cost than it would be having somebody who's non-civil service to do non-emergency transport.
Yes,
So-
and it's been brought up, and it's still in discussion. Something we'll have to visit.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anybody else from the commission want to be recognized on this matter? No? It's open to the public. Anybody want to comment on this? Please identify yourself.
Roberto Uresti, concerned citizen. First of all, it should be put up there because I didn't see any numbers. That's a come. I don't have that information until he said it, 350. My question is, since it's going to be increased, which is normal, I'm not opposing too much, but the thing is, I would like to see, what are you going to be doing with the extra money? Would you put it right back to get more ambulance service, more personnel? That's what it would be looking at, sir.
This is not a moneymaker, I assure you.
It's not a moneymaker, but the thing is, it's an increase, and that's increased revenue coming in, sir. It's not a laughing thing.
I
We
understand
have to
your
look at that,
concern,
sir.
but I want to assure you, it's not a moneymaker. Our equipment alone it doesn't cover. Believe me, it doesn't.
Okay, and then the city needs to start thinking that we might privatize it, like Harlingen. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to address that, city manager, perhaps from your perspective?
What do you want me to take into perspective
Well,
as to what
the
he said?
gentleman seems to think that we're making money on this thing.
Well, the issue is maintaining an elite group of people that respond in emergencies and providing and helping them provide services to people in need in an emergency response with the best equipment possible. So obviously, purchasing equipment and things like that
costs money.
Costs money. Are we going to make a financial gain here? It all depends. It all depends on what's occurring, the workload we have. Obviously, we respond to emergency calls, and we have agreements with cities throughout the valley. We help them, we respond to assist them. So it's a big stress on our EMS and on our service in relation to, we shouldn't be looking at this as a venture of making money, and the money the paper we submit is to Medicare and Medicaid mostly. So we're not looking at this as a big money venture. We're looking at this as
Service.
a service to our people in need, especially people in need of medical assistance in an emergency type scenario. If there is ever a big gain in this, then obviously we're going to put that back into the EMS service and purchase more equipment, more ambulances. As the city grows, our population grows, our neighboring cities grow, we're always in need of more equipment.
Which we have a shortage of, ambulances.
In the public, in the private, in the emergency sector, in the public, in relation to EMS and fire, we're always in need, and we're always in need of personnel and equipment.
Yeah.
Yes, you're correct.
Well, thank you for addressing that, City Manager. Commissioner Zamora, you want to speak?
Yes, just to put this into perspective, what kind of increase in revenue are we looking at? I'm sure that you have estimates with the number of calls you receive.
I would project for the year, it may mean $70,000 more dollars.
Okay.
At the very most.
And this is one of the ways to help us deal with the deficit that we have right now.
Correct.
Which is $4 million. So 70,000 is only a little drop in the bucket. Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing. Anybody else? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Okay. We have somebody here. Please identify yourself.
I think you were arguing that it wasn't a moneymaker, but the letter to Mr. Kabler in your backup material says that it's going to be a moneymaker or it's going to make up for a shortfall. You can read it for yourself. I believe it says $79,000 extra or something about around that amount. I would argue that just because Medicaid, Medicare pays $309,000 per call doesn't mean that we should be increasing our rate just so we can grab that money, because I feel that even though as Social Security next year or the year after, the cost of living adjustment is not going to go up, but their Medicare premiums for senior citizens will be going up. So in general, it would, if every city does what the city is wanting to do, and I want to say it's gouge Medicaid, Medicare, you're going to increase premiums for seniors, I believe. Also, I'm curious to know what other insurances are paying out. We're charging $250. What are other insurance like TML paying, or any of the others with the exception of Medicaid, Medicare? Or is this $350 charge just for people who use Medicare, Medicaid? And is there a system in place where people who are indigent and do not have Medicaid, Medicare, are they going to be forced to pay $350 per call? And that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
We can answer or address that question in two parts. Of course, the explanation we're going to give you will provide you a better insight on why we came up with a $350 cost. And Esther will give you a very good detailed explanation.
Okay. Currently, our current rates that we have are straight across the board. We charge everybody the same, whether they have Medicare, Medicaid, private insurance, workers' comp, self-dependent, and self-insurance as well. As far as the increased rate, that is not necessarily just because we want to bill and grab that 309 difference. The thing is that the ambulance industry recently has gone through some changes, and we are at the end of our phase of our ambulance fee schedule that came into a to end, and they tried to regulate the ambulance industry because there was no regulation, okay? And based on that is the reason why that it is necessary for us to increase our prices, and at the same time we're taking our citizens in consideration, and as you notice in the numbers, we're not going as high as our other competitors are. We're just going enough to subside at the difference between our medical supplies and the base rate, because the method of change of billing has changed. We no longer can bill itemized, we only bill base rate and mileage. Everything else gets adjusted. I think that sums it up.
I think what we want to stress here to the citizens is that we want to have the equipment, the training, the personnel to respond to the needs of this community, especially in a life or death situation where it's required. If we don't invest into the system by upgrading our fees, people could suffer the consequences of it. And I think that's what this is all about, providing a good service to the community.
And I wanted to add that also. I know we have some of our citizens that cannot afford our services, but that doesn't stop us from giving them aid. A private company will give you 3 strikes, you're out. If you can't pay them, call another service. I think that's the main thing that we need to look at, that we still service our citizens regardless of the cost of the transfer. I think that is very important.
Very important.
Thank you. Anything else? Mr. Resendez, you want to speak on this subject?
My name is Alex Resendez. There's a little confusion here. Medicare, Medicaid, it's got 2 or 3, like some have only certain part of Medicare, some have Part B, or would you elaborate on that?
Medicare is broken down into, I believe it's 3 different parts. Medicare Part A covers their ambulance stay, their not ambulance stay, their hospital stay, their physician's visit, and so on and so forth. Medicare Part B covers an ambulance and any durable supplies that is out there. Medicare Part D only covers the pharmaceutical aspects of their package. And of course, Medicare currently has 3 different, I believe, HMO. They have the gold, the silver, and the bronze plan, just depending on how much it is that they contribute as an individual to their Social Security throughout their work lifespan. That's how I understand it.
And how can you say that they will not increase the premiums for old people or people that have Medicare for whatever it needs to be paid for? Because isn't there another way that you all can get their hands in other kinds of monies besides Medicare?
I really don't think that we have any control as far as Medicare raising their rates. I mean, that's a Social Security issue. And as far as us getting our hands into that, that also has nothing to do with it. We're just trying to be as fair as possible.
Isn't there another way that you all could get these monies instead of going into the Medicare of the people that they can barely pay their Medicare and Medicaid?
We're just going.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you guys are going to vote, and you guys can vote any way you guys want to, you know? But there's a lot of poor people over there that they can barely afford certain parts of Medicare with their Social Security paying for it, because they do get deducted from their Social Securities. And if they do raise their rates, then you all have it in your conscience.
Thank you, Mr. Resendez. Okay, do you want to add anything to that or anything? Okay, we have nothing to do with the Medicare rates. This is an allotment provided by Medicare, what's allowed.
Yes.
Okay, we're not going to charge them more than what's allowed. Okay, so, and if they can't pay it, we're still going to service them.
Absolutely.
Okay,
we're obligated to provide a
we're not
service
out to
regardless.
hurt anybody. We're just trying to keep our system running as best we can.
Yes, sir.
It's still the lowest.
We're still the lowest.
Commissioner
in the
Zamora?
valley. It's still the lowest fee in the valley.
Yes, ma'am.
Still the lowest.
So again, just to repeat again, for Mr. Resendez, if you or I can't afford to, to cover the emergency transport visit, they're not going to deny us a service, nor would they deny anyone else who calls in need. So let's make that very clear so that we don't give the people the wrong impression. And I just want to make it very clear.
And that's exactly right. Again, this is an emergency BLS service rate. The individual that is required or requiring the transportation or treatment will not be denied. That's absolutely right.
It's got to be an emergency, not just for any little thing.
Okay, we're not going to deny anybody the service that needs it, okay? Okay, this is a public hearing. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So
Move to
moved.
close.
We have a motion by Commissioner Camarillo. Can I have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Zamora. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This is an action item. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Camarillo. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gowan. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries to approve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item, 5.
Item 5, first public hearing to discuss the proposed 2009 ad valorem tax rate for fiscal year 2010 of .674189 per $100 valuation, which is 3.06% over the effective tax rate of .654189 per $100 valuation.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the Commission. My name is Lupe Granado. I'm the Assistant Finance Director for the City of Brownsville. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Pete Gonzalez, which unfortunately wasn't able to attend. He had a surgery, which he's currently recouping, and he's expected back early next week. This item is there for your consideration because anytime that you have to, you're going to have a tax rate, proposed tax rate increase above your effective tax rate. You must have two public hearing meetings. The first one, of course, is today, and the second one, public hearing, would be September 1st. And this is only a public hearing.
Okay, this is the public hearing. Commissioners, anybody want to speak? Commissioner Atkins is recognized.
As the Office of the Finance met with the airport, I've been talking with Larry Brown about cutting the advertising out of there so it can be done through the Brownsville Conventions Business Bureau, because I think we're duplicating our efforts there with what we're paying the CBB board and what we're subsidizing the airport with. So, you know, I think, Larry, you've made those, have you reached finance and talked about cutting there?
Wait a second. We're talking about the tax rate here. We're not talking about the budget. This is a tax rate.
Okay, but just before I would support raising taxes, I want to make sure we're cutting what we need to be cutting, and that's all I want to bring up.
We have, Commissioner. We have.
Okay.
We are discussing that with them, and we have made cuts
I mean, because
everywhere possible on the
but
budget.
to,
Overtime issues.
Before we raise taxes, I want to make sure stuff like that is being done, stuff that we see, you know, it's a personal issue, but it's an issue that's causing us to raise taxes.
Advertisement efforts are being discussed with all the departments. They understand that we have technology now, for example, at the Public Information Department where our library is, and we can utilize that. So we are working on condensing a lot of our advertisement, utilizing our channel, et cetera. So yes, the answer is yes.
Okay.
This is a public hearing. This is to raise your property tax rates by 2 cents, basically. Okay, please identify yourselves. If you're for it or against it.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and respectable Commissioners. My name is Bob Purpshaw. I was reading the item itself, and it's saying 3.06% over effective tax rate, which the numbers don't jive. I think it's a misprint, and I would like to see if that could get corrected.
It's not a misprint. It's not 3 cents, it's 3%.
The correct tax rate increase actually is 3.64%, not 3.06%. It's on the backup material that's on the agenda item. That's the correct amount.
This is a public hearing. So noted. Okay.
Honorable Mayor.
You don't have to yell.
I'm not yelling, I just got a tough voice.
Okay, please. Calm down.
Honorable Mayor, beautiful commissioners, ladies, and handsome commissioners, and of course the handsome mayor too. If you read today's paper, taxation, no representation. It's not only my idea that you say, Barrera, you're always griping about taxation. So here it comes.
Get the PowerPoint.
Tax time is here again, and so am I. The last I know is that money does not grow on trees. Remember the Boston Tea Party? A raid by the American colonists on 3 British ships when they dumped the British tea into the bay because of high taxation without representation. This happened in December 1773. It was the first big tax burden on the American colonies. A penny saved is a penny earned. My parents taught us, Mr. Mayor, taught us children to be frugal, to save, not to spend all of our allowances. This should be a high priority for this city, for this county, and for this nation. Just as individuals cannot spend themselves into prosperity, so too excessive spending by cities will lead to ruination in the long run. Savings, not spending, is the basis of an individual's wealth. So it is for any city, county, and nation. Any overspending or acquiring a debt with cheap credit encourages feverish borrowing. Sooner or later, reality will rear its ugly head, and a person or city entity will suffer the consequences of overspending and incurring a big debt. Look at the hundreds of cars that are being repossessed at the credit union lots. Look at the huge number of homes that are foreclosed and they're for resale. Why? Because the new breed of young people who want to match the affluent lifestyle of the affluent, like the Iturrias, the Porters, and the Tiptons, they want to be like them, but they just don't have the money. Please, public officials, learn the good lessons from our founding fathers, the Benjamin Franklins and the Madisons. Don't be so callous, so unfeeling, so insensitive against us, the poor taxpayer, who pay for everything that you have here in Brownsville. The city hall maintenance, paved streets and everything, we the taxpayers pay for it. Any boom or false prosperity you have is built on debt, which this city has already a debt. Inevitably will be followed by economic crash as the debts come to bear. My point is this: 3 times for you to think about it, at least 3 times before you stick it to us again, year after year after year. Mr. Pete and the young man that just spoke, Mr. Kabler, reduce your high-paying positions.
Let me ask you something.
Yes, sir.
Our property revenues have dropped because the assessments have dropped. Our bridge revenues have dropped. Our sales taxes revenues have dropped.
My pants are dropping too. I don't have any money.
Well, you know? Okay, what solution do you propose? What solution do you propose?
My solution is
to make up that.
To learn to live within your means, Mr. Mayor. To learn to live
so you think
modestly.
Let me ask you this. So you think we like to raise taxes on ourselves? You think we like paying property taxes higher?
Well, it seems like you do. That you like to pay. You want to go along. But the rest of the people are hurting, Mr. Mayor. Pat.
Let me ask you this. When you vote for your representatives, don't you believe that your representatives here are going to work with management, the finance department, and your county assessor, and everybody else, trying to find the best thing for you? You don't believe that?
We vote on their promises, and they turn right around and sock it to us again.
Well, why don't you run?
I'm thinking about it.
If you can do better than us,
but I don't want to
run.
spend my money because I have to come back and ask you and leech on you people. I don't want to leech on anybody. I don't want to be in the good settlement house.
So
I don't want to be in the poor house.
Let me ask you this. Do you want us to lay off people, cut off police?
If you need to, I'm saying lay off the duplication of work.
Okay.
People need to do a little more.
Do you want us to cut off police? Do you want us to cut police off? Because I mean, 65% of our budget is fire and police. Okay, and emergency services. That's something that all citizens expect of us, that we provide public safety. Do you want us to cut the budget on police? That's what you
No,
want?
not the police, because we got more criminals, we got more illegals,
So,
more
okay,
bad people. We need those
So
people
you
to
don't want
take
us
care of us.
you don't want us to cut police, okay? How about bus? You want us to cut bus? You know, we
If need
provide
be,
service.
get a
Huh?
bike, do something, you know? We're just overloaded with people doing menial jobs and so forth. A job that can be done, is being done by two people that can be done by one. That's what I'm trying to say.
In the streets,
And
you don't want us to pave streets?
Pete Gonzalez and the other staff members need to look and be harsh with it.
Well, I can assure you here,
Okay.
okay?
Can I say
And what I'm going to tell you is that these people, and I'm very proud of them, and I'm very proud to represent them here, our city employees have not had a cost of living raise, this will be the third year, okay? And, okay, we're looking at cutting back on traffic signals to save money. That's at the expense of public safety, which I find it troublesome when we're at that point. We have a $4 million deficit, okay? And we're looking at maybe laying off people if we don't do something to correct it. And I told you this was going to happen 2 years ago, because I inherited a deficit. We balanced the budget on the reserves, if you recall. And I said property revenues were going to come down, sales taxes were coming down, and bridge revenues were coming down. I told you back then 2 years ago, and it's happened. Now from, I think, close to 500,000 that we went into the general fund, to balance the budget, to the reserves, now we're to 4 million. So the hole is getting bigger because people like you don't want to listen. You keep saying cut, but where do we cut? Tell me, where do we cut that you seem to think that we're so fat?
But Pat.
Right now we have 60 positions that we're not filling. We can't fill them. We can't fill them because of budget constraints that we have. Sometimes, people complain, okay, that they don't answer the telephone. Well, because we're understaffed. This morning I had an emergency call about some dogs running loose. They killed doctors, peacocks and other pets. And I had to call a standby employee, and he responded because the doctor needed him right there. A citizen. It doesn't have to be a doctor. A citizen needed him down there. But you want us to cut those things out, and then when you call us, you're going to complain because we can't provide the service. That ain't fair.
Pat, we're not in paradise, brother. We got to suffer a little bit. We're in a recession. Understand that.
Let me remind you also. Let me remind you also that in the 90s, the tax rate was 75 cents per 100. 75 cents.
Okay.
Okay. And we brought it down, if I recall right, to 67. Is that right, Lupe? 67 cents. Huh? Yeah, I know, it's 65 now. But we brought it down to 67. And we built the library, we built streets, we did a lot of good stuff, and we lowered property taxes. Nobody complained. Nobody complained. Everybody liked it, okay? Then we cut it down to 65 cents. Nobody complained. Everybody liked it. Well, now it's time, perhaps. I don't know what the consensus is. Just like the commission back then and through now, cut back, okay? You probably didn't even come here and say, hey, thank you.
Yes,
okay?
you
They did? Okay. Well, you're one of the few then, okay? But
No, we thank you if you did some cutting.
But the thing is, the commission, whoever was here, they did the right thing, and they said, okay, we can cut back and give taxpayers a break. Now the commission's here with a situation that we have to make some tough decisions, okay? And raising it is not something that we want to do, but it's something that we have an obligation to provide the services that you expect from us, to keep the city running. And you keep saying cut, 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 but I can assure you, and I'll vouch for the city manager and everybody here, everybody's worked very hard to cut back as much as they can. And they have done without the paying cost of living raises for 3 years. There were some things that affected us. We got a judgment that we had to pay out to police. $2 million. $2 million. $3 million. I stand corrected. Okay? That's affecting us. Okay? That went to public safety. That's to protect you. All I'm trying to tell you and the audience is this. It's not something, Just like there was a commission here back then in the 90s when I was here. We lowered your tax rate. You know, we could do it. Now it's something to consider to raise it, but not because we want to. It's because we have a duty to make sure this city operates, okay? People call me that the city's sturdy, okay? We don't have the funds to do as much as we could, or that we need to pave streets. We don't have the money to pave as many streets we would like. People complain, but they don't bring solutions. You yell and tell us cut, but you don't have no solutions. And I hate to say that, my friend. It's good to yell and stand up and make these wonderful statements, but you need to walk in his shoes. The city manager, he's in charge. We're just here to set policy and guide him. But you need to walk in his shoes. He's got to make do with the pennies he's got to meet the expectations of the community. And that's paving streets, providing bus service, getting the payroll in time, you know? When we don't have that kind of money.
But if you don't put pressure on the city commission, whoever does the budget and the accountant and so forth, they'll never find ways to reduce. You got to be a little tough. You got to be a little harsh.
That's where we come
Not
in.
be wimpy and just
come
go
in.
along.
That's where we come in, Mr. Barrera. You have to trust that we're doing that. Believe me, we're not. I don't want to raise taxes myself.
Can I say something? I want to reiterate real quick. You know, when somebody starts a job with a municipality or the government, you know, there's expectations that you're going to move up and you're going to get cost of living increases. These city employees have not gotten that in 3 years, Mr. Barrera. If you were working for where you were working, I don't know where you're tired from, and they weren't giving you not a cent raise for 3 years. I mean, after a while, we're getting some employees starting to get disgruntled because they've had it. They see the police and fire taking, and the employees are just being hit hard. You know, we haven't raised taxes. We lowered taxes. You know, we lowered taxes the last, 2 years ago. Last year, we didn't raise taxes, but other entities did. I believe UTB and the county raised taxes. So, and then when we lowered taxes, 3 years ago or 4 years ago? 3 years ago? Everybody jumped on that bag, went, oh man, look, the city dropped taxes. Let's get back, let's capture that. So really nobody changed. Nobody saw the benefits of cutting taxes because other entities jumped on what we dropped. ¿Me entiendes? I mean, that's what they did. So we're at a point, we're the only entity last year that didn't raise taxes. This year we're asking for 2 cents. If it happens, it happens. But I've tried to figure out what that 2 cents does. If you own a house of $100,000, it'll come out to $16 a year. That's your taxes are going to go up. You're going to have to pay an extra $16 throughout the whole year.
That one doesn't have to.
Huh?
That one doesn't have to.
You don't have to, Dagoberto. But, you know, when push comes to shove.
That's right. My taxes are frozen. I'm not here just because of Barrera, but $16 on the city, $16 at the college, $16 at the port. It amounts to a lot of more money, you see? And I'm not here because of myself, because my
Well, you said you wanted to run for office, so maybe this is a time for you to jump up and...
$16 on an $80,000 home, that's what it's going to go up. That's the average home.
I don't know.
But let me tell you...
About $100 home.
Let me tell you...
Who are you talking to?
Let me tell you...
You're not talking to
no,
an affluent
the average...
Iturria?
The average, no. Iturria's house, I assure you, is more than $100,000.
Yeah.
But the average home in Brownsville is $80,000. The average home. The average proposed effect it will have on a homeowner $16. Okay, but I assure you, the city's going to be better off for the $16. Good government costs, Dag. It costs money. It doesn't run by itself. We have to invest in it. If we're not willing to invest in it, then we already hear complaints. The city's not clean like you would like to. The streets are not being paved like you would like to be paved because we don't have the money to begin
Honorable
with.
Pat, but
let
look
me
at
finish.
California.
Let me finish.
They're bankrupt.
Let me finish. Yeah, that's right. But let me finish. The employees, which are, you know, their cost of living has gone up, but their pace has not gone up and kept up with the cost of living. Gasoline's gone up for them and all that. To me, I stand on the record here. I wouldn't blame them, and I would support them.
I hope obesity goes
unionize.
down.
No, I would support them to form a union okay? I would support the reform union, because it's not fair the way we treat our city employees. I stand on the record right now, because to keep asking from them to give and give and give, and we're not taking care of them as we should, that's not fair. It is not fair,
But
because
remember,
you don't
you're
want to pay
taking care of them
$16.
with somebody else's money, Pat. Look, we're not your
You
piggy
think you're the only
bank.
taxpayer here? I'm a taxpayer, they're a taxpayer?
Yeah, I know
You're
that.
not the only taxpayer here?
A
You think
fit-
we're
But
the
you all
only one?
want to look good because you gave them a raise. That's not the idea.
Okay, we haven't given a raise
They have not gotten a raise.
in 3 years.
And they're not going to get one. We're just trying to keep the doors open and provide the service. That's what
Well,
we're
if
trying
you're
to do.
trying to do that with the city, which is your domain, that's what I'm trying to do with my home life too. To
Let me see if you
live
can-
modestly.
Let me see if you can understand this. I
Not-
already told you, 65%, 65% out of 100
All right?
goes to public safety. And there's a shortage already. And you don't want us to cut there, so forget that there, okay? The other 35% is not much there to do capital improvements and also the administration of the city. It's not much, 35%. We do pretty damn good with that 35%.
The $50,000 house would pay $8 for the whole year. I mean, they're doing, it's minute to try to do your part during this crunch. I think everybody has responsibility and you have responsibility. You know, right now, at your old age, you're reaping a lot of benefits by the government, and that's fine. You earned it. You got there, and more power to you. But we have to do something here to safeguard everybody, not just what your personal needs are. It's everybody's needs. I don't want my taxes raised either, but if it happens, it happens.
Let's give somebody else the opportunity here. Mr. Perpetual?
Okay, let me just finish, Pat. Remember that we're not your piggy bank. We're in a recession too, with seniors, limited income, living modestly, and any more unjust taxes will send us to the Good Neighbor Settlement House, or at least to commit suicide.
I'm sure you'll get the government to
We
pay.
owe China,
Please don't commit
Pat,
suicide.
listen, we owe China trillions of dollars. And who will be paying this money? Our children, our grandchildren, and our grandchildren will be on it. Read the article on today's paper. Be taxation with no representation. And it gives you a good lesson. Thank you, Pat.
Don't believe everything in the Herald also, Dag.
No props.
It's okay. I know you prepared all week for this.
This is the Boston Tea Party, but here in Brownsville it's going to be the Brownsville Tea Party. Okay? Here it is. We're dumping all that because of high taxation.
Good evening one more time. My name is Bob Perpetual, just another concerned citizen. I would just like to get a definition from Lupe. Lupe, what actually qualifies as ad valorem taxes?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What qualifies for ad valorem taxes? Explain the definition of ad valorem taxes.
The definition of ad valorem taxes is basically taxes on your property values, whether it be home inventory, and those numbers are given to us by our Cameron County Appraisal Office.
That's where my concern falls in. Of course, you know, local businesses have to pay taxes on their inventories right now, and their ad valorem taxes, of course. And those are one of the places we're hurting most right now is in commerce. So how are we going to put more people back to work if we're going to start charging our local businesses some more money on their taxes? And that's what the problem I have with raising these taxes. Also, when you're looking at it from a business standpoint, those monies, like a car dealer, I can tell you, for instance, a car dealer doesn't pay his ad valorem taxes till he sells a car. I think that's how it works nowadays. I know it was in the mobile home business too. At the end, you didn't pay until the end. But those monies that you pay on ad valorem taxes could go to hire another person. And right now, with the economy the way it is, being as slow as it is it really beneficial to start burdening our commerce with some more taxes? That's the question you guys got to ask yourself. Are we burdening the commerce section, the local retail stores,
The
or
question we have before us, do we start cutting employees out? That's the question.
Well,
That's
and
the
I
real-
agree.
That's
Well,
the
who-
reality, Bob. Bob, the reality is that we have 35% out of 100% for administration capital improvements. And the employees have not gotten a raise in 3 years, okay? And people expect so much from their city government, whether it's bus, streets, mains, whatever, okay? Where do we cut? We have cut as much as we can. Now we look at cutting employees. Do we want to do that? I don't think so. We have,
No.
we
No, I
have
don't wanna do that.
1,400 employees, city manager? City manager, we have about 1,400 employees, 1,500?
No, we have less than that, Mayor. We probably have less employees now than we did 10 years ago.
Okay, but how many employees do we have?
1,100 and
Okay,
some.
1,100 employees, and that's less than we had 10 years ago, okay?
But the question at hand, Mayor, and I agree with you 100%, if the economy is slower and you raise the tax percentage and the amount of revenue or inventory that companies might be holding at this particular moment is less, are you really making any profit with the tax raise? That's the question you got to ask yourself. So in the long run, are you really getting more revenue raising the taxes on the local businesses? That's where it's hurting the most. So follow that principle there when you're talking about taxes. Because if the revenues are down, like we've been saying, I've been hearing for the last month, the revenues are down. If you raise the taxes, well, you're still back at square one. So you're kind of in a no-win situation, Mayor. You really are. You guys are in a really
There's
bad
other factors
predicament.
as to why the revenues are down. It has nothing to do with taxes, it has to do with the recession.
Well,
It has to
I
do
know,
with
but
the economy, it has to do with-
follow what I'm trying to say, Mr. Mayor. What I'm trying to say, if the revenues are down and they keep falling, and you raise taxes, you're still getting the same amount of revenue in taxes. You follow, it's just simple math. And that's what it is. And so if we raise these taxes on companies or even on people with homes, they might not be able to hire that one extra employee or anything like else to help make an economic rebound in our city. So you just think about that before you make this decision. And I'm not against raising taxes. I want everybody to understand that. I'm not
Appreciate
against
that,
raising
Bob.
taxes if it benefits the city.
I don't know
I
what
just
the
want to
consensus is,
benefit
but-
the community.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Perez.
I feel like there's some overlap in this item on the agenda and next item on the agenda. Is it possible that we can just open that up for budget discussion at this point, because you were discussing the budget in this
We
item?
have this item on the agenda here for discussion right now, so you have something to say?
Well, yeah, I do. It's just that it has more to do with, because you're saying, you asked Mr. Barrera if there are any cuts you propose so that you don't have to go for the 2-cent increase. You're also making the argument that, we haven't increased the cost of living for our employee, or for your employees here at the city. But it'd be one thing if you were actually arguing that the 2-cent increase is going to those employees, and you're not arguing that at all. In fact, I would recommend that there's at least $450,000 worth of cuts that you can make right now, and then you don't necessarily have to go those 2 pennies, or if you want to increase those 2 pennies, that 1 penny can go to the cost of living increase for those employees here at the city. Would you like for me to make them right now, or do you want me to wait for the next item on the agenda?
You can wait till the next item on the
All right,
agenda.
no problem. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Mr. Reese?
Mayor, Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen. Mayor, this is a very broad subject that we are addressing. And there are so many variables that we have to address. I called Mr. Fructroso at the appraisal district today because I am concerned that since 2006, the price of the homes were never decreased the 50 or 60% minus the equity that the people had on their homes. So you're talking, the economy tumbled, but the taxes we still have to pay. So now how about considering us? We, the taxpayers, have not had a break. And you know what? Everything has to favor you all. But we have to remember Ayacoca. We have to remember General Motors right now. We have to remember all these institutions, financial institutions. You know what? We have to let you go. We can't afford you. So this is what you have to do, sir. And let me explain to you. Regardless of how much we increase the tax, we still issue debt. The last debt that we issued by the PUB was for $77 million. We're supposed to have high people in the financial echelon in the PUB and in this institution where Mr. Gonzalez has been for 30 years. And the interest at which this bond were sold was variable interest. Does that ring a bell? Does that ring a hedge funds? Does that tell you about the economy? Why we are where we are? What I told you 4 years ago, I tell you that it was the beginning of the downfall of this great nation. I have predicted to you because I study the issues. I do not come and address or challenge any of you in no manner. I have tremendous respect for you. But I deserve also reciprocity because I come prepared, sir. I can address issues right now. Mr. Frutoso did not return my call. I wanted to say, Mr. Frutoso, you increased the value of the properties. But hey, you didn't decrease them since 2006. But okay, we're increasing them. So let's say we should have rolled back the taxes because, you know, the price of the economies of scale, supply and demand. No demand, the price falls. But still, the taxes remain the same. The people didn't complain. You know, we have cooperated with the communities 1,000%. Okay, now we say, well, I have addressed not only the city, but also the county. Somebody is not paying their fair share. We need to audit the appraisal district. Why? Because since the institution began in 1982, it has never been audited. And sometimes we have people in the boards of the appraisal district that have their personal agendas. And you know what? The same guys get stuck all the time. You know, there's this group that we get stuck all the time. There's some people that get away with murder. We have people driving Escalades. We have a lot of people that are living here from other areas. We have to support a school district that has 51,000 students comparable to the city of San Antonio. Of course, we have to understand that San Antonio has several school districts, right? But one of them has 53,000 school districts. So it's not that we're complaining, sir, it's that we can't handle anymore. The people that are in Medicare received the notice. No increase in 2 years. We have problems with the health plan. We have to be concerned also in the commission, sir, about the elderly and the young because, you know, things are going to change. We have not addressed that. Our congressman wants to do this by telephone. What we need to do is get rid of him because we've had enough of him.
Let's stick to the subject matter.
Well, I'm talking about representation, sir. This is part of of the economy, of what we live here,
right now
sir.
we're talking about a tax rate.
Okay, fine. Now let's address the question.
Please do.
The variable rates. How is it that we have top men in finance at the PUB and they sold the bonds at variable rates? And we have a commission and we have a board members over there that are all professionals. What happened there? Now, what happens? The rates go up, and what else is going to go up? Our electric bill is going to continue to go up.
Mr. Reese, please, let's focus on the.
Well, sir, because we're talking about what we're going to have to pay, sir.
I want you to focus
Well, this
on
is
the
what
tax
I'm
rate.
addressing. Because you know that you have service fees in the PUB for water and for
This is not a
electricity.
PUB meeting. Go
That's
to
a
the
flat
PUB.
tax, sir. That is a flat
Go to
tax.
the PUB meeting. Right now, we're talking about. the
Well, I'm
tax rate.
talking because this is, we're owners of the PUB, we're Brownsville, sir. This is us all together, the navigation district, the college, you know, this is us. This is, we're not only going to pay you, we get billed by everybody, you see? And I'm trying to, like I said when I first started, this is a very, very touchy subject because we're not addressing it right. For example, we have prioritized the money-making institutions that we had here. Now, who picks up the trash? Who paves the streets? What are they doing? Why do we have all this department of personnel and department heads that are making a lot of money? What are they doing for us? We have to pay extra for that also. We have to pay for our garbage also. But also, you know, I have noticed in the PUB bill that we pay service fees for the city. We haven't even turned on the light or the water, and we already owe you $60. Now, you multiply that by 40,000 accounts and tell me how much is in a month. You're talking millions of dollars also. Question, it's not how much you make, it's how you spend it. We have assets and we have liabilities. And you know, If we're going to have to let go of some personnel, sir, well, everybody else has done it, from the top of government and industry to the bottom. If we can't afford it, sir, we have to let them go. There's no cost increase because, you know, the Medicare is cutting the people off for 2 years. Maybe you can put some students over here, because we're going to need some of those people to come and help us, because we're not going to be able to run the city anymore.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Next.
Sir, that's okay. You want to? I'd say $1.5 million of free tubing all the way to the Veterans High School and the Military Highway PUB. I have the instrument here. I have the instrument here. But why are they so gratuitous with our money?
With all due respect,
because you know,
please,
then when they
please,
give, because they
please
have
address
to give
that,
you money.
Please
Also,
address that at PUB.
how much do you get from the PUB every year?
Right
Millions
now-
of dollars. And what does the PUB do when you're asking for more money? The consumer is the one that
Excuse me,
gets
sir.
stuck with it.
Excuse me, sir. The agenda item is first public hearing to discuss the proposed 2009 ad valorem tax rate, not the PUB.
Sir?
The agenda item is a first
Sir,
public
I'm
hearing.
a very knowledgeable person.
To discuss the
And let me
proposed
tell you something,
2009
sir.
ad valorem tax
Let me tell you
rate.
something, sir.
So
When
I-
you address annexation, you did not do the correct procedure.
So I'd ask that you
Required by
please
law.
address the item on the
I'm
agenda,
telling you,
sir.
what is affecting the citizens of Brownsville has to do with the
Mr.
PUB
Reese.
and with every entity that has to do with
Mr.
the
Reese,
city of
with all,
Brownsville.
with all due respect, please allow others that want to speak, okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Roberto Ureste. First of all, number 5 and number 6 do overlap, sir. That's why it's getting a little overhand. On March 08, I built my house, moved in. In May 08, the appraiser took me in, and we had a little discussion that my house was worth a lot. So they raised it about $6,000. Okay. In May 09, I had to go back, and they raised it $12,000 more. So I'm one of the few that's going to have to pay a double tax.
Wait a second, if it's your homestead, they can't raise your property tax rates by more than 10%.
Well, no, they raised the value, and that raised my
No,
taxes from
no,
$700
They
to
cannot raise your property
$1,300.
taxes more than 10%.
Yes.
You have a right to appeal that.
I did, sir. We finally agreed to $42,000. But I asked them a very simple question: buy my house and I'll move out. Very simple. And the lady got a little mad. They brought in the sheriff. But I know the public back here behind me are all thinking in their hearts this: raise our taxes. I know they're all thinking. Every one of them wants their taxes to be raised. You know? And you know what? I want also the taxes to raise, but under a condition. The condition is simple. How are you spending that money? Now, I know that number 6 is the one I'm going to bring up all the other things. You keep saying that the employees have not received any raise in 3 years. And there's a reason, and that will be in the agenda number 6 that I'll bring it up. But we must understand, and all I want to say is, yes, I will support a tax, but I wish that the University of Texas at Brownsville, TSC, would have gotten rid of that tax.
Would have what?
Would have gotten that tax, the tax that we have to pay through the Texas Alamos College. It should have been taken away a long time ago. And also the Brownsville navigation tax should have been done away. If those two taxes would have been away, we would have brought in more industry, a lot, I guarantee you. Because it would have brought in, say, hey, you only got 2 taxing entities or 3. I know that the school district is number 1, and I saw my bill already. But I will support a tax. I know some people say, what can we do? And I ask all the people that come over to the car wash where I work, I said, their taxes are going up. I said, ¿qué puedo hacer? Nobody's going to listen to me. I'm just a regular person. So we must understand, I don't say they're lower people, but they do work very hard. I'll bring up the issues in the next agenda. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Reese. Mayor. Commissioner Atkinson? Number 6, can we open that up before we decide on item 5? Just, I mean, Commissioner Trani made a point, and I agree with that.
You don't have to make a decision on 5.
Put this on the table. Oh, you don't have to make a decision on 5 right now?
Just stays open.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
public hearing, it's
Okay.
to discuss,
Okay, no problem.
or whatever the wish of the commission is. Okay, this is a public hearing, any further discussion?
No, not yet. Any further discussion? Okay, this is a public hearing. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So move to close.
We have a motion to close by Commissioner.
Second.
Continuance, Mayor, would be a better.
Sorry, yes.
Pardon me?
Continuance?
Continue.
I'll retract and I'll move with a motion to continue.
Second.
Longoria retracts it and is making a motion to continue the public hearing. Can I have a second?
Second.
A second by Commissioner Camarillo. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This is to continue, City Secretary. Item number 6, please.
Item number
City Manager.
6, public hearing to discuss the city's proposed fiscal year 2010 budget.
Let me say something here. If I seem defensive on behalf of the city, I represent the city, I represent the citizens, but I see every day what these people put out. And I see what we have to do with very little. So, you know, you elected me, and I am very engaged. And I think I am well in tune as to what these people are doing on a daily basis. So I just want to convey to you that what we're trying to do is for the benefit of the community. It's not for our personal benefit. We don't even get paid to be here. I just want you to know that. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor, members of the commission, this item is to continue discussion of the proposed budget. The budget was filed at the City Secretary's office on August 14, and that was an itemized budget. What I have before you, what I handed out before you is a PowerPoint presentation. It basically summarizes that detailed report, and would we like to go over it? Basically, I'm just representing this report that Mr. Gonzalez had presented on the August 11th meeting, and I'll briefly go over it and try to answer any questions that you have. On the first scenario record you have up there is basically a breakdown of the ad valorem taxes with no tax increase or no compared to we're going to use the same effective rate as the proposed rate of 65.4189. On that scenario, what we're doing is there's going to be an increase on the revenues. Current year collections, an increase of $867,000. Next slide, we'll have a breakdown between the ad valorem tax collections between fiscal year 2009 and 2010, keeping the same tax rate. For general fund, we'll have an increase of $1,811,157, a decrease in the debt service. The reason because of this is because we are allocating more into the general fund maintenance and operation account and decreasing the debt service account. On slide number 5, on this slide we're proposing, it's a proposal of a 1 cent increase to the effective tax rate. On this tax rate, slide number 6, we have an increase on the current year collections of $1,328,314. On slide number 7, we'll have an increase to the general fund of $2,286,927, a decrease in the debt service of $958,621. On slide number 8, this is a slide that we're recommending. We have a proposed 2 cent increase between the effective tax rate compared to the proposed tax rate. The proposed tax rate of 67.4189. In this scenario, we'll have on page number 9, we'll have a current tax year collections of $1,789,521. The breakdown on that is there's an increase to the general fund of $2,762,265, decrease in the general fund debt service. Page number 11 is a...
Wait a second, Lupe. Dag, are you paying attention to this?
That's a little beyond me, to tell you the truth. Nobody wants to say that, but it's, statistics is not my bag.
So you know we have to pay debt
I know. Why did you incur the debt, brother?
to provide the services or the streets that you want. Okay?
Page number 11, basically an analysis of tax levy on an average homestead Brownsville resident. If there is no tax increase on a property value of $80,228, there's going to be a tax increase of taxes paid of $4.51. If there's a 1 cent increase authorized, there's going to be an additional $8.02. If the 2 cents that are recommended approved, there'll be a $16.05 increase to the average homeowner. Next slide is we just have a history of the property tax rate from fiscal year 1995 to 2009. As you see, between 2002 to 2006, there was a tax rate of 68 cents. 2007, it went down, it got decreased to 65.02 cents. The last 2 years, it slightly increased to 65.05 cents. On schedule number 13, on page number 13, slide number 13, here we have a summary of the general fund statement of revenues and change in fund balance. We have revenues of $84,725,065. These revenues do not take into account a tax increase. They'll basically have the same tax rate. As you'll see, we have expenditures of $86,420,237, which will basically give us a deficit of $1,695,000. Excuse me, $1,695,172.
Dag, you see all those line items there? You see the parentheses? The parentheses on the right, the third column?
Third column, parentheses. Yes, okay.
That means that we have a shortage. No money to pay to meet those needs. Okay?
But that in my household, I don't have any shorts. So, yeah.
Well, good for you, but this is not your household. This is thousands of households, okay, that we have to look out for. That's to make sure they get police, ambulance, fire protection, pave your streets, keep your traffic lights running. Well, what community does not owe debt? What community does not owe debt? What I want to point out is that we have a shortage, okay?
What you get here, and you're going to penalize us, people don't have any money to eat anymore, man.
Okay.
Just taxes and taxes and taxes.
Go ahead.
Just
wait till the federal government kicks in.
Just to reemphasize this slide on the third column, you'll see that there's been a substantial decrease with the current year budget, which was an expenditures of $94,554,000. Compared to next year's budget, we have dramatic cuts of $8 million, which brings the budget to $86,420,000. Leaving this fund balance, we have a deficit of $1,695,000. We have a projected fund balance at the end of this fiscal year of $12 million. By the end of next fiscal year, we'll have a projected fund balance of $10,368,000. That right there will leave us a 12% reserve. Next page, on page 14, basically this is the amount that's going to be allocated to the debt service to pay debt payment. We have total revenues and transfers of $16,002,526,000. Debt service requirements. These are debt service requirements that we're obligated to make sure we fund as part of the bonds that have been sold. We have $16,742,405. We have a deficit of revenues over expenditures of $739,879. The good thing on this fund is that we have a fund balance of October 1st of $3,954,000. Estimated fund balance of next fiscal year is $3,214,880. Page 15 is a similar presentation on similar statement of revenue expenditures for the general fund. In this case, the only thing that changed here is that This has a 1 cent increase. Take into account that 1 cent increase, our deficit, instead of being 1.6, is going to be decreased to 1.2, 1,219,402, thereby bringing our estimated fund balances next fiscal year of 12.55%. Skip over to page 17. Again, the general fund transactions between the revenue and expenditures. If we have the 2 cent approved, the deficit on here will decrease from 1.6 million to 744,664.
We could charge a fee for people whose phones go off. We can make some money that way.
Anyone knows, it's a municipal phone. Especially with a ringer like that, you know.
They do it at the courts. I don't know.
I forgot to mention at the beginning of this presentation, Mr. Gonz- the budget that's filed at the City Secretary's office, it has this presentation is slightly different. The only change that has been made on this presentation compared to what's in the budget is Mr. Gonzalez had previously had discussed with the Culture Affairs Committee that there was not going to be any general fund allocations for entities. Inadvertently, Mr. Gonzalez, going back and reviewing the budget, he inadvertently he noticed that there was an allocation of $215,000 to the Valley Zoological Society of $215,000. This right here, going back and kind of being in the same guidelines of what the committee had presented, he had decreased that amount of which he previously budgeted for in the budget. He decreased it from $215,000 down to 0 allocation. And of course, this is up to the City Commission if they would want to put it back on there, but he's just trying to follow the guidelines of what the committee had set up.
Is there a proposal that would include a cost of living increase for non-civil service employees?
There is no proposal. We ran some preliminary numbers. And we have the numbers if you wish.
Yes, please.
Let him finish.
Let him finish the presentation.
There's
Two pennies, okay, but let me ask you a question, please. Is there a percentage that we're using, or are you using 2 cents as a base?
2 cents.
2 cents, it's not a percentage.
It's 2 cents. The ad valorem tax. 2 cents to the ad valorem tax.
Okay, but are we going to use the ad valorem tax in 2009 or 2010?
2009.
You're going to use the old figure?
Yes.
And that's 2 cents, and not in the new figure that's going to come out for this September or October 2010.
No, the appraisal district provides us the ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2000. Okay.
You see, the appraisal district already raised the values of the properties. Are you aware of that?
We're always 1 year behind you. Yes, we're out, the assessed taxes that are assessed in October are for last calendar year.
No. Thanks, Lupe.
Hey, Lupe, I had to talk to Pete about what he's saying about adding a 3 cent, 4 cent increase, raises for.
Lupe, I think someone wants to ask you a question.
Are you done with your presentation then? I'll let you finish.
No, well, actually, for the general fund, yes, there's other funds that I would like to present, but for the general fund portion, yes.
I'll let him finish.
Want to wait? Okay. First of all, I would like to say that these numbers were prepared in anticipation by a couple of city commissioners who are wanting to know how much of a cost of living increase would affect the general fund.
Can you put one on the Elmo?
Can you put it up there?
Can you put one on the Elmo, Lupe? So we can...
Now, seeing that there's a deficit currently right now of, if we have a proposed tax increase of 2 cents, which is 744,000, please,
It's kind of blurry. I don't know if that's me or.
It's a thing.
Without the glasses.
794,000.
if there's any cost of living increases proposed, this would add to the deficit. So that would be something that the commission would have to weigh out. On the on a proposed increase for 3% for all non-civil service employees, total of all funds is 794,182. General fund is 550,365. A proposed COLA increase of 4%. The effect on all funds is $1,058,911. General fund effect $733,821. There was a couple of scenarios I believe commissioners want to know if I think the last two was for people making less than a certain dollar amount.
I had talked to Pete Gonzalez about setting something up like this where maybe the top heads of departments, supervisors, and stuff that make over $16 an hour not get the cost of living increase, but anybody making $16 or less. If there was a way to figure out how we can put it into our budget so we can take care of these employees.
I'll present those numbers, but there might be some issues there that I believe Mr. City Manager would.
Well, I think the big question is can it be Me Too'd, and are these circumstances that are going to increase our costs across the board?
If we give non-civil service a COLA increase, yes, it's going to be Me Too'd, or we can be Me Too'd by the fire, not by police, because we just recently resolved the contract with it.
And we need to let the employees know that the firemen will come back and Me Too and expect that raise as well.
They have the possible right to. I don't know if they will.
But this was a contract negotiated before.
And we're working out all those numbers in relation to employees making $12 or under and things like that. Understand that once you do that, there's a compression effect. If you give an employee that's making $12 a 4% increase, for example.
But let me ask you something.
What are you going to do with employees making 13? So we're going to have to look at all those factors.
But let me ask you, could fire Me Too, do they have, I think all their employees make over $16 an hour, so they wouldn't be able to Me Too that, would they?
That's why we're doing those numbers, but you need to understand that it's not as easy as that, because you are going to cause a compression with employees that are making, for example, $13 an hour, $14 an hour. You give increases to only employees making 12, they might pass their supervisor's pay. So we have to look at all those numbers first.
But this is not something you're proposing.
No.
This is not something you're proposing.
I mean, we're looking at anything and everything, but if we don't have if we don't get, obviously we're asking for 2% increase in the tax rate, and if you do a 2-cent increase in the tax rate, and you're giving the employees an increase, well, you're basically going to give the increases to them. We can also look at the living wage and what the living wage is, and upgrade the people that are at the lower tier of the pay scale, and then give other employees in the city a 2% increase, for example. But what we are doing is reducing insurance coverage to employees, which includes police, to 8515, so we can address the issue with the Me Too clause with the fire by saying, well, you can't just cherry pick the increase. You're going to have to look at the fact that
look at the whole package.
The insurance is also going to be part of what you're considering with your Me Too clause. But we're looking at all those numbers right now, and we don't have a final answer for you at this time. So thus this budget is proposed without any increases at this time. But understand, we are going to have a series of meetings continuing next month, and we do have time to address all the questions you may have.
Commissioner Gowan.
I just had a question. In conjunction to trying to accomplish the cost of living increase, some cities are doing furlough programs where perhaps the higher paid employees are being given extra days off. and such that are furlough programs, and a lot of cities have done that. Has any consideration been done for that?
To give employees extra days off?
Well, it's extra days off without pay. So, for example, if you get 3 days off for Christmas, you may get 4 days off for Christmas. And different cities around the country have looked at things such as that in an effort to not fire anyone, but rather just decrease the numbers of hours.
I don't believe we've gone to that stage.
Reduce the hour numbers of work per week.
Obviously,
too, is another issue.
employees have the right to come forth and say they want to take extra days off during the holidays, example. But if we're going to mandate that, then we'll bring that to you. But employees have sick leave, vacation days, and things like that, and then you're going to tell them you're going to be off 4 days, and we're not going to pay you. Well, we have an issue with vacation and things like that. And you can only mandate that to non-civil service employees, by the way. You can't go to the unions and tell the unions, we're only going to pay you.
Public safety.
We're only going to pay you 3 days out of the week, 4 days out of the week. You can't do that with police. The uniqueness we have is we have unions in relation to police and fire, which takes up the bulk of our salaries.
No, I'm not suggesting a dramatic cut, but some cities have done, for example, 12 days of furlough a year. So it's only 1 day, not to make it sound like a small thing, but 1 day a month is not a 3-day work week, is what I'm asking.
Again, we'll have to, with the police and fire, we'll have to get contractual agreements to be able to do that. We can't do that with them without them agreeing to it, which I foresee them not agreeing to that.
Okay. Any other questions, Commissioner Zamora?
Yes, I'd like to speak with the Parks and Rec Director, Chris Patterson, and I saw Robert Luna here. Is he still out? Robert Luna?
He's silencing his phone.
I'll speak with Mr. Luna first, please. Mr. Luna?
Yes.
Do you have any policies in place where you go back to your contracts that maybe haven't gone out for RFPs for a while so that we could save the city some money? I did a little bit of research and I did discover that at least our waste collection contract, one such contract hadn't gone out for RFP, please correct me if I'm wrong, since 1986.
1986, that's the commercial solid waste.
Correct.
Okay, we're looking into that already.
Okay, but
and the other one, the residential one, it's coming up for we're going to go out for RFPs next year.
But do you have any policies where you go back to your contracts to reevaluate them to see if maybe you need to go out for RFPs?
There's really not a mechanism. What we do is that in most of the contracts that we have under the terms, we usually have 1 year with the option to 2 additional renewals. Some of the contracts, like advertising, for example, they're up to 5 years because of the investment that the companies have to make to be able to have the contract or do the investment on the services and also on the equipment.
So I noticed the commercial waste collection contract had been not renewed, but contract extension after contract extension and repeated since 1986. So that concerned me with other possible contracts that maybe need to be reevaluated and put out for RFPs.
We already we're already evaluating that option, and yes, we are looking into that. I was also doing a research on that particular contract. I gave you a copy of that.
Yes.
There was also an opinion as to why it's been extended up to 25 years. But I'll be more than happy to visit with you and check on that. I'm sorry?
Can you share that with us now?
Yes, sir, I will.
Can you share with that, why has it been extended?
Well, right now is because of the language that's on the contract. That contract was, I believe, was presented back in 2001, if I'm not mistaken. And it was presented by the Paul Calapa, who happens to be the purchasing manager back then. And it was renewed for an additional 10 years. Okay. And that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was based on some documentation that was part of the package, that apparently, there was some language in there saying that municipalities were able to extend those contracts up to 25 years. I'm doing right now some research as to the legality of that opinion and the information that's part of the package. But to answer your question, I'm looking into that contract and also into the residential solid waste contract.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Patterson?
Mr. Luna, but that was commission approved, correct?
Yes, that was presented before City Commission for approval.
In 2001?
I believe it was in 2001 or 2002.
Okay.
But that's something that's passed through to the consumer.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's really not gonna affect our bottom line. I mean,
Well,
we get a percentage, but,
We get the point that.
yeah.
It has to do with
And
policies in
understand our
general.
residential and commercial garbage contracts are the best contracts that we can have
Right.
on the books. We understand reviewing all our contracts and bidding and going out on bids, but those two contracts, and as we explained before in the past, our landfill is the #1 generator of our budget. We have a tremendous relationship with GMS, its ownership. We get a lot of free service from them. And franchise fees. We get funding, we get money for every home that they,
What I wanna
or
focus
commercial
on is
buildings
our
they
budget
touch.
here. I mean,
So,
I think
that's the
we're getting-
reason.
We're getting off here.
And
No,
within that
because it has to
contract,
do
we have
with
5-year
general-
The
renewal.
policy on that's some issue that I think.
It has to do with all contracts in general. I was trying to make a point that they needed to be reviewed.
Okay, well, let's
Thank
bring it
you.
up on an agenda item there, if you want to talk about.
What has to do with
contracts.
budget? Thank you.
Let's talk about the budget here.
It has to
Okay.
do with budget.
What do you have for Mr.?
You and I had a discussion some time back about receiving funding from BCIC, 1.3 million, to help with general maintenance of parks. You no longer receive that funding because the majority of that funding is going to the sports park. So where does that funding come from for general maintenance now?
Coupled with the BCIC funding for the past several years, we've utilized general fund for construction. They weren't maintenance projects, they're more of projects that, give you an example, Olivetta Park improvements, lighting improvements in our athletic fields. The sports park is funded through BCIC, which is obviously a parks project. The funding that we have now that's coming from BCIC for basic projects through, let's say Olivetta Park, we're trying to do some repairs out there. I have to use another source. Can't use the general fund, we have to look at other sources of revenue. I can't call that with the BCIC board. Whatever they decide to allocate, that's one thing. They have amount of money, whether it's 200,000 or 100,000 left over, we have to compete, and we'll go ahead and put our application in as well. For instance, last year we did some restroom improvements, couldn't take it out of the general fund. So I hope that answers your.
I needed to clarify if that money was being compensated through general fund.
Can you repeat that,
If
please?
that was being compensated through general fund,
What would be compensated?
the 1.3 million that you've no longer receive.
Well, the parks projects, it's not just for the parks department. It's allocated, if I'm not mistaken, it's for parks-related projects. And I could get Dr. Barrera to explain details if you need that.
Maybe we'll, the subsequent
It's just where it's
agenda
allocated
item,
in
we
parks
can
for
talk about
parks.
that.
Whether, the sports park or wherever they allocate it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And the BCIC revenues or source of income is being used for the sports park?
No,